We are taught, sometimes subtly, sometimes forcefully, that we must dream, that we must chase that dream, whatever it is, with dogged persistence. The world often celebrates those who follow their dreams as the pinnacle of success. But here's the uncomfortable, unromantic, and perhaps even sacred truth. What if the dream you've built for yourself isn't the purpose you were made for? This question isn't just inconvenient. It's terrifying because it demands that you relinquish control, that you confront the idea that your internal compass may not be perfectly calibrated, that the life you envision might not be the life that brings true meaning. Let's start by distinguishing between a dream and a purpose. A dream is something you create, born of your desires, your experiences, your pain, your ambition. But purpose isn't created. Purpose is discovered. It confronts you. It arrives uninvited in the middle of the night or in the aftermath of failure. And it doesn't always make you feel good. It makes you grow. You may ask, but I've worked so hard for this dream. Would God really pull me away from it? And the answer might be yes. Not out of cruelty, but because there is something deeper to be revealed. Something that cannot be built solely on your preferences. Something forged in meaning, not comfort. The pain you feel when the dream fades is not proof of purposelessness. It may be the beginning of alignment. So, what should we do? We must ask harder questions. We must walk willingly into the unknown. We must confront the possibility that our deepest fulfillment lies not in what we imagine for ourselves, but in what is being asked of us. You are not a passive victim of divine whim. You are a participant in a story grander than your own script. And in that terrifying surrender, you may find a richer kind of freedom, one anchored in truth, not fantasy. A dream often begins in the human imagination. It's shaped by personal experiences, aspirations, wounds, and ambitions. It grows over time, molded by what we see, what we want, and what we think will make life meaningful or bearable. Dreams are powerful. They give direction, inspire discipline, and help us endure hardship. But they're also constructed from the limited perspective of our individual experience. They reflect our desires, but not always the full depth of our potential. A dream is something we want to do. It's often a projection of what we believe will make us significant, happy, or safe. And that's not inherently wrong, but it is incomplete. Purpose, on the other hand, is not something we construct. It's something that confronts us. It interrupts. It disrupts. It speaks not only to what we want to do, but to who we are meant to become. Purpose is discovered in struggle, in the quiet moments of reflection, in the aftermath of disappointment. It emerges not from the surface level desires of the ego, but from the deeper current of existence that runs beneath our fears and ambitions. Where a dream often says, "What can I get?" Purpose asks, "What must I give?" The unsettling reality is that purpose might not always be exciting at first glance. It might not glitter. It might not impress, but it calls something out of us that nothing else can. While a dream might make us feel good about ourselves, purpose stretches us towards something greater, something transcendent. And often, that something does not align with our initial expectations. The path to discovering it is rarely straightforward. In fact, it often begins when the dream starts to fail. When a person is young, they might dream of fame, wealth, or influence. But as life unfolds, challenges arise, failures occur, and pain enters the picture. These aren't detours from the path, they are the path. They strip away illusion. They reveal character. And in the rubble of broken expectations, purpose begins to emerge, not as a lightning bolt, but as a whisper, as a weight, as a call to responsibility, meaning, and contribution. This is why the distinction between a dream and purpose matters. Because you can chase a dream and miss your purpose entirely. But if you pursue purpose, the life that unfolds may be deeper, more impactful, and more honest than anything you could have imagined on your own. Many people assume that if their dream isn't fulfilled exactly as imagined, then they've failed, or worse, that they've misheard or misunderstood their calling altogether. But the truth is more nuanced than that. A dream isn't necessarily wrong simply because it doesn't unfold the way you expected. It might just be the initial spark, a necessary beginning that sets you on a path of discovery and growth. It could be a glimpse, not a guarantee, a symbol of something greater, but not the whole picture. What you dreamed may have been meant to get you moving, to awaken desire, to point you in a direction, but not to define the entire journey. Dreams are often wrapped in our personal preferences and assumptions. We imagine outcomes that feel fulfilling or impressive, and we build our vision around those feelings. But life has a way of peeling back those layers, revealing what's essential and what's superficial. What you initially wanted might have been full of passion, but it may also have lacked depth. That doesn't make the dream bad, it just makes it incomplete. It's a piece of the puzzle, not the full design. Sometimes we need to pursue the dream to discover that it's not the destination, but the doorway. It's also important to recognize that many dreams are built on a limited understanding of ourselves. We form ideas of who we are based on what we've experienced, what others have told us, and what the world praises. But identity evolves, and as we change, the dream may no longer fit. What once felt like the perfect future may begin to feel like a constraint. That shift isn't failure, it's growth. It's your soul trying to stretch beyond the framework you built years ago. Purpose often reveals itself in that tension between what you thought you wanted and what life is actually calling you toward. The dream may have been necessary to get you out of complacency, to teach you discipline, or to expose your potential. But once you've learned what you needed to learn, it may be time to let go, or at least to loosen your grip. The irony is that many people chase their dream with such ferocity that they miss the invitation to something deeper. They cling to an old vision, not realizing it has already served its purpose. The dream brought them this far, but now something greater, something more aligned with who they truly are, is asking for their attention. Disappointment is one of the most powerful and disorienting emotional experiences we encounter. It hits hardest when we've invested ourselves, our time, our hopes, our identity into a particular vision of how life is supposed to go. When that vision collapses, when the door closes or the plan unravels, it feels like something inside us breaks. The natural response is to grieve, to question everything, to feel as though meaning itself has slipped through our finger. But what if that very moment, the breaking point, is not the end, but the beginning of something far more honest, far more aligned? When a dream dies or begins to fall apart, it's not just the dream that's being challenged. It's the assumptions underneath it. The assumption that life should go the way we planned. The assumption that our desires are always in sync with what is ultimately best for us. The assumption that comfort is the goal. Disappointment shatters those illusions. Not to leave us empty, but to clear the space for something deeper to emerge. It strips away pretense. It tests what we really believe. And it introduces us to a level of humility we often avoid. In that vulnerability, a new kind of clarity can begin to form. We start asking questions we previously ignored. Why did I want this so badly? What was I really chasing? Was it validation? Was it escape? Was it control? These are uncomfortable questions, but they are the soil in which deeper purpose begins to grow. Disappointment, when approached honestly, is not a sign of failure. It's an invitation to realignment. It's the moment we stop trying to force the world to bend to our will and begin listening for what the world, or perhaps what God, is calling us toward instead. The paradox is that many of the most meaningful paths in life only become visible after a dream has died. It's as if we couldn't see them before because we were so focused on our own design. Once that design crumbles, space is made for a new blueprint, one not based solely on desire but on truth. And that truth, however inconvenient, is what ultimately liberates us. It's what guides us toward a life not just of success but of significance. So while disappointment may feel like the end, it often marks the beginning of alignment with something far more enduring than the dream we thought we needed. We often chase achievement because it provides a sense of progress, of moving forward, of proving something to ourselves and to others. It's measurable, it's visible, it earns applause, but purpose doesn't always show up wrapped in achievement. In fact, some of the most purposeful moments in life don't look like success at all. They look like sacrifice. They look like staying when it's hard, speaking when it's uncomfortable, doing what's right when no one is watching. Purpose demands something from you that achievement rarely does. It demands transformation. Where achievement is about performance, purpose is about becoming. It doesn't just ask, what have you done? But rather, who are you becoming in the process? Purpose doesn't care as much about the outcome as it does about the process of shaping your character, your integrity, your ability to carry responsibility with grace. It doesn't avoid hardship, it uses it. Purpose takes the raw material of your life, your strengths, your failures, your wounds, and forges them into something useful, something deeply human. And that transformation often requires walking through discomfort, letting go of ego, and enduring seasons of obscurity. It's easy to chase dreams when they come with recognition, when they align with your personal preferences, and when they don't ask too much of you. But when purpose enters the picture, it often challenges those very preferences. It might ask you to serve quietly rather than shine publicly. It might ask you to build something for others that doesn't benefit you directly. It might ask you to confront parts of yourself you'd rather avoid. And in doing so, it grows you in ways achievement never could. True purpose refines your motives. It exposes selfishness, pride, and fear, not to shame you, but to invite you into maturity. You can achieve without changing. You can win on the outside while remaining unchanged within. But purpose doesn't allow for that kind of stagnation. It forces you to become congruent, to bring your inner life and your outer actions into alignment. That's why it's often uncomfortable, even painful. But that's also why it's meaningful. The transformative nature of purpose is what makes it enduring. Achievements fade. Trophies collect dust. Applause dies down. But who you become through the pursuit of purpose, that lasts. That carries into every corner of your life. That leaves a legacy, not because you impressed others, but because you chose to become someone worthy of the weight you were meant to carry. Letting go of your plan is one of the most difficult things a person can do. We spend years building expectations, setting goals, imagining how life should unfold. Our plans give us a sense of control, of certainty, of direction. But there comes a point, sometimes multiple points, where life refuses to cooperate. The doors we expected to open remain closed. The outcomes we were sure of fall apart. In those moments, we stand at a crossroads. We can either cling harder to our plan, or we can open ourselves to something greater, something deeper, something not entirely of our own making. There's a subtle illusion in thinking that freedom is found in total control. It feels safe to be the architect of every detail, to believe that success is simply a matter of our detail, to believe that success is simply a matter of executing your blueprint perfectly. But that illusion eventually collapses under the weight of reality. Life is unpredictable. People change, circumstances shift, dreams evolve, and often it is in the unraveling of our carefully designed plans that we are finally positioned to hear what we were too busy to notice before. The quiet, persistent voice pointing us toward purpose. Freedom, real freedom, isn't found in clinging, it's found in aligning. Aligning with a purpose that may not be of your choosing, but that fits you in ways your dream never could. This kind of alignment doesn't erase your identity, it refines it. It draws out your deepest capacities, not just for success, but for service, for love, for endurance, for faithfulness. It's not about surrendering your life to chaos, but about surrendering it to meaning. And that meaning often lies just beyond the edges of what you thought you wanted. To align with a greater purpose requires trust, not blind optimism, but a grounded willingness to believe that your life is not random, that the detours are not wasted, that the delays are not failures, that the disappointments are shaping you, not destroying you. Trust doesn't eliminate fear, but it keeps you moving through it. It holds open the possibility that what lies ahead might be more significant than what you've left behind. The moment you let go of what you thought had to happen is the moment you create space for growth, for direction, for clarity. It's the moment where peace can begin to take root, not because everything is under control, but because you are finally walking in step with something larger than yourself. In that surrender, there is strength. In that alignment, there is freedom. So, what if God's purpose looks different than your dream? Then perhaps you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Not lost, not off course, but standing at the threshold of transformation. Maybe the breakdown of your dream isn't a punishment, it's an invitation to something more enduring than success, more sacred than comfort, more real than applause. Because purpose doesn't always look like the vision you started with. The vision you started with, sometimes it looks like loss, sometimes it looks like waiting, sometimes it looks like walking a path you never would have chosen, but finding along the way that you've become someone you never imagined you could be. Let your dream bring motion, but let purpose bring direction. Let your ambition spark fire, but let meaning shape the flame. If the dream fades, don't despair. Listen, look deeper, ask harder questions. There's more to you than what you wanted, and there's more to life than getting what you planned. Thank you for walking through this with me today. Thank you for being willing to question, to reflect, and to open yourself to the possibility that something greater is at work. Something that may not look like your dream, but that might just lead you to a life of profound depth and unshakable meaning. Take care of yourselves, trust the process, and above all, stay faithful to the unfolding story, even when it looks different than you expected. Thank you and goodbye.